Okay, we're up to yesterday. We left off where we learned the halacha that when we say kol chamiro, when we're mevatel the chametz, we have to make sure not just to be mevatel. Bittul means that we consider it as if it's ownerless, but we can't just, although that's a concept that we feel in our heart that it's ownerless. Just saying words seems like in itself is not sufficient, but at the same time that we feel it in our heart, we should also be saying the words as well. So there's words that the Chacham were misaking, the words of Kol Chamira v'Chamiya, and it's those words that need to be said along with the feeling in the heart that we are actually mevatel, that we actually consider the chametz ownerless. And that's and therefore, since we have to both say it and feel that way, so so you say the words, but you have to actually understand what you're saying. You don't understand what you're saying, just say it. That's not sufficient. So therefore, somebody who does not understand the Aramaic words, the Aramaic words were the words that is the nusach that the Chacham established it to be said in, and it was established to be said in this language because that was the spoken language, as opposed to Hebrew. So it was established to be said in Aramaic, but if we don't understand those words, you have to make sure to, instead of saying it in Aramaic, you have to say it, you have to say it in words that you understand, whatever the words are, whether it's in Hebrew or in English, you have to make sure to say it in words that you actually understand what you're saying. So then you'll have expressed what you say, what you want, as well as felt exactly what you want, what the meaning of it is.
There's a few symbolic who said that you don't have to know word for word what you're saying, you just have to know in general the same thing.
It is different. It's even more, and it's certainly different than tefillah. It's best if you understand what you're saying, but even if you don't understand everything, you still say the lashon tefillah, the nuscha tefillah that the Chacham were misakin. But over here, what the Chacham were misakin is, in this case, that you have to be mevatel, because otherwise you can be over on a mitzvah or leisasa. So you have to be mevatel here. You say it so that we're sure that you're being mevatel. So along with the feeling, you have to express yourself, because otherwise there's an expression, dvarim shebalev. So it's only dvarim shebalev, it's things in the heart, but you didn't express yourself, so maybe you don't want anybody to hear it, you don't want anybody to know what you're really doing, so that goes against what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be saying it so that everybody does know what you're saying. It's like saying that it's ownerless, but nobody should hear, so because somebody might come and actually take it.
What do we think when we know that the part of the comments we sold, the greater part of the government mentioned that in the language of it?
Well, we make it so we make it very clear that we're not being mevatel that which we sold. As a matter of fact, there are certain people, there's a whole issue, and we'll get to it soon, but I'll just mention it now, and that is, we mentioned it actually yesterday also, that the Mechiras Chametz is done specifically with an Aruf Kablan. That the Alter Rebbe paskins that the way to sell the Chametz, it has to be with a guarantor, and a particular kind of guarantor, which is referred to an Aruf Kablan, which is the kind of guarantor that if I owe you money, so and I get a guarantor to guarantee you that you're going to pay the money. So generally a guarantor is that if If I owe you money, then I have to pay you the money. And if I need a guarantor that I'm going to pay, somebody guarantees that in case I don't pay, if I don't pay you, they're going to pay, right? So generally, a guarantor like that, it means that when you come for the money, number one, you have to come to me because I'm the one that owes you the money. And if I don't pay you, you can go to the other guy. An Arif Kaplan is a different kind of guarantor. Arif Kaplan is one who guarantees in a way that he says, to begin with, you can go to him. You might say, for example, you want to be sure that I'm going to pay, and you don't even want to have to deal with me about it. You don't have to start nudging me when you know it's going to be a difficult job. You know, the other guy will certainly pay if he commits himself to. So you want to set it up in a way that you can go direct to him. That's referred to as an Arif Kaplan.
You're all for a problem Jewish.
No, not Kenneth can go. Not Kenneth can go. I, who sell the chametz to Kenneth, and now Kenneth owes me money, he has somebody guaranteeing the money that he owes, so I can go straight to the Arif Kaplan. So if you're the Arif Kaplan, for example, I don't have to go to Kenneth, ask him for the money, and then I have to nudge him, and then finally I say, okay, I'm going to the guarantor. I don't have to deal with the guarantor, with the person, with Kenneth at all to collect the money. I go straight to you. And the Alter Rebbe says that that's really the way to do it, and that's the only way that the mechira is really a good mechira. And what's that?
Who then turns down?
Who?
At the end of Pesach, say you want the money, he doesn't go to the Arab Cobbler. You don't go to the Arab Cobbler. You have Kenneth say, I want to sell back.
If he wants to sell it back, we don't need the Arif Kaplan. But if he wants to buy it, so I say, buy. I go to the Arif Kaplan and say, give me the money for it. And then the Arif Kaplan goes to Kenneth and tries to collect it from him. Who? He does. He could collect.
Getting millions of dollars from Kenneth, it's like trying to get water out of a stone.
Well, so that's why an Arif Kaplan, the reality is, though, he could, if Kenneth wants to sell it back, if he wants to sell it back, what he's really saying is, I couldn't make any money on it by selling it, so it's all sitting around. So now the Arif Kaplan, if Kenneth says, I'm not paying you, and I'm holding on to the material, the Arif Kaplan can go to Kenneth and take the material back. He doesn't have to get the money back. He can take the material back and just say that, and if he doesn't have the material, then that's between him and Kenneth. So for the Arif Kaplan, it's a commitment. And obviously the Arif Kaplan relies on that the Rav found a guy that he can trust. But again, the bottom, what's that? Right, but how's Kenneth going to get the chametz if he wants to hold on to it? He has to go to everybody and collect it. Well, after Pesach, the Arif Kaplan can't go to Kenneth, pay me until he pays out the money. So it's really to the benefit of the Rav that the Arif Kaplan is signing on it, not to the benefit of Kenneth. He wants to guarantee the Rav that this is a good sale. He will not have to worry about it, because if he has to worry about collecting it from Kenneth, as you said, what's the chance he can pay for it? Like it's a joke. So that's why the only way that it doesn't look like it's a joke, and it isn't a joke, if there is in fact an Arif, and not just a guarantor, but an Arif Kaplan, which is where I go straight to the Jew and I say, you pay up for it. Then when I sell it, I'm seriously selling it, because where am I going to get the money for it? The guy doesn't have it. I have the Arif Kaplan who guaranteed it. Do I have to look at who? I don't have to look at it. If I trust him, I trust him. If you give somebody a loan, if you trust him, you don't ask him for any guarantee for just look at his papers. If you don't trust him, then you'll worry about that. You can make it. You can decide yourself if you want to trust him without showing you his papers from the bank. It's up to you. And the Rav picks a Rav Kaplan who he knows he's committing himself. He's going to stick to his word. Well, so then I trust that if he doesn't have millions of dollars after Pesach, what he will do is make sure to collect all the stuff from Kenneth, and he'll go ahead and sell it, and I'll get the millions of dollars, because the price that it says you can collect is the price, the going price for that material. So if you're selling a pound of wheat, you can't charge the Arif Kabbalah more than a pound of wheat sells for. We'll talk to our accountant about that.
Trying to upload all that.
Oh, so obviously, whatever he can sell it for, it's the going rate that he could sell it for, whether it's retail or wholesale, whatever the going rate is. What's that? Because the bottom line is that Kenneth always comes back and says, "There, you told me to begin with that if I don't want to sell, if I didn't sell it, I didn't make any money, you'll consider buying it back." So I just take it back from him. I don't have to. There's no need for cash to go anywhere. If anything, the only cash that goes is I give Kenneth money. I tell him I'm going to give him some money for having tried to sell it. He failed, but I give him money. Okay, you tried, couldn't make it, so I give him money for that. And again, so I started saying this all because some of the commentaries that explain why there's no need, not everybody, the whole chiddush of Arif Kablan is a chiddush of the Alter Rebbe. Most Rabbanim that sell don't use an Arif Kablan. There are many that do, but most don't. And the Alter Rebbe says you have to. So anybody that sells to a Rav that's not using a Arif Kablan is basically not following what the Alter Rebbe says. There's a question on the Mechira. I remember when I lived in Borough Park, my grandfather was one of the early Rabbanim in Borough Park, and Erev Pesach, Rabbanim from all different types, different Siddish Rabbanim, different Rabbanim from the whole area knew my grandfather sells the chametz and it's kosher l'chol hadayis, and he would have like a tables full of Rabbanim sitting while he would do the mechira on their behalf. As they would come with all the papers that they had from all the people that said that asked them to sell the chametz for them, plus because everybody knew my grandfather sells it the way the Alter Rebbe established it. But anyway, again, those that don't use an Arif Kabbalah, what about the issue? It seems like a joke. So what they answer is that, maybe we don't need such a good mechira because we're mevatel anyway. But the problem with that is what? Well, let's say I am mevatel. Well, but let me tell you even more so. That's one point. The other point is, what you came to sell to the guy, that you're certainly not mevatel. Otherwise, you wouldn't be selling it. So just by the fact that you're selling it is clearly an indication that you're not mevatel it. Otherwise, how could you be selling it? So from that perspective, so you asked before, what are you mevatel? You're certainly not mevatel anything that you're selling, because if you're selling it, you're clearly stating, I'm not being mevatel this. I still have ownership and I have the right to sell it, and I'm asking the Rav to sell this to the guy. Well, in the time of the bittul, what you're selling, what you are being mevatel is, as we say, the kind of chametz that I don't even know exists. So I don't even know exists. So I said, anything that I don't know that exists, I'm mevatel. What I know exists, I've sold. but that I looked for and I couldn't find, and I don't even know that it exists, those kinds of chametz I'm being bevatel. Anything I know of, I'm selling to a guy. But again, once upon a time, this whole concept of mechiras chametz didn't exist, right? The concept didn't exist, and as a result of that, the bittul needed to be established for more things, perhaps, but not so much more things, because as I said, once upon a time, they also didn't have chametz that sat around over Pesach, because most of the chametz, or just about all the chametz, was finished before Pesach. They didn't sell it. There was no need for it. Today, it's different with all the preservatives. Yeah. Again, I say, speak a little louder.
I did this why then the rabbi said this woman is not wrong. I was probably going to eat it anyway. Tempted something being sit there in front of me. So Rabbanan made, if you've got to do more to that, you got to search for the woman, you got to sell the woman, you got to hide, whatever. The woman's not there in your presence. And he said, the rabbi said that just from a derisive perspective, you could disavow your woman's. That would be derisive. But the rabbis knew, I did know. Sit there, I'm gonna end up doing it. I end up selling them. So
what you're saying is absolutely correct, and a few days ago we learned that too. You can listen to the tapes. You can listen to it online. No, but exactly, that's the point. Why, in addition to bittul, you need bedika. That's why you need the bedika, although the bittul should be sufficient. But there's two reasons given. Number one, maybe you weren't fully mevatel. Shema lo yevatel b'lev shalim. And number two, even if you were mevatel, if it's going to be around in your house, you might find it shema yimtza gluska yafa. You might find some tasty piece of donut in the middle, and yeah, you were mevatel it, fine, but it's still a tasty thing, and you're going to eat it. So get rid of it. That's why you need bedikas chametz. Yeah.
Two things. Number one, if the person or someone, if he's becoming responsible, isn't he in a little bit of a way being he's like buying?
No. He has the achrayus to pay the guy. He's taking it. Forget it. That it's the chametz. It's like I gave the guy a loan. He owes me money. Doesn't matter what the issue is. Right now, the guy owes me money, or he doesn't even owe me money at the moment, or he actually does, because he gives me a down payment and the rest he owes me. But he owes me money. It's irrelevant what he owes me money for. He's not taking an achrayus for the chametz. He's taking an achrayus for the money that he owes you.
Just like the person, your doubt, so it shouldn't seem like a joke. So with Fred Kaplan, if he's not like a millionaire, doesn't it still seem like it's
So again, good question. But again, the point here is there's two issues here. Number one, the guy should be a millionaire. But let's say somebody, and I know the Hebrew free loan used to have it that way. They used to work that you want to take a loan, you need two guarantors. One guarantor got to be a businessman, and the other guarantor can be any rabbi, can be a guarantor for you. Now, the businessman, I understand, because he has the money. What about the rabbi? So the rabbi, and I asked them this question. I wanted to see what their thinking is. And they said, the rabbi, we trust that one way or another, they'll come up with the money. If they have to go and borrow the money from somebody else, if they committed themselves that they're going to pay for it, they'll figure it out. So what we look for in Adav Kaplan is a Jew that's trustworthy, that if he has taken that responsibility, if he owes it, he's going to figure out how to pay it. So yeah, he may not have it at the moment. So he'll go through all the stuff that's there and see how he can sell anything that he wants to have to sell and get that money back because he owes it. So that's the key. The owner of Kabbalah has to be somebody that's trustworthy, not necessarily a millionaire at the moment, but if he doesn't have the money himself, he'll go borrow the money. He'll go to work he'll do something to make sure that he does not owe the guy money that he committed himself he's going to pay it.
If you find comments on Pesach, say part of the Mechira or part of the.
So we went through that, and the answer is that if you find chametz, if it's just crumbs, if you find a lollipop, for example, so the question becomes, what do you have to do with that? What do you do with it? So in Shulchan Aruch it says you have to cover it with a cover, and you have to then burn it, and that's without mechira. We sell our chametz, so that doesn't apply. As a matter of fact, if you take that lollipop and burn it, you're stealing from the guy. You sold that to the guy. You didn't put it into the closet. You made it in the contract. It says clearly that any chametz that you have in your house, you're selling to the guy. It's under the couch. It's instead of in the closet that you put away all your chametz. So during Pesach, when you find it, kick it into the closet. It's the guy's chametz. You can't burn it at that point. If there's a crumb under the cracks of the wood and whatever, that's your mavatal. That's not, the guy doesn't come after Pesach and say, hey, let me clean up those crumbs and get it and let me take it home with me. Okay. If you didn't sell, then you have to burn it. You not only do you have to burn it, depending on, sometimes in the middle of Pesach, you have to actually make a bracha on the beer chametz. If you did sell, then it's not yours to burn. You're not allowed to burn it. Just kick it again into the place that the guy's chametz is laying. That's where it belongs.
Somehow you get it delayed, enthusiasm lost, and it shows up at your door on Pesach.
Well, so the answer to that is in the Shtar Mechira, that's included that if the stuff in the mail, that whatever. So number one, if you get it in the middle of Pesach, what you should do is not accept it. Well, so don't take it into the house. Well, again, if you're questionable, don't be koina it. Okay, but again, the reality is that it's also included in the Mechira. Yeah.
They code can't personalize for me. I hate arguing with person. I don't need to give it to the children I work.
Okay.
So to sit there in the middle of passage, I wasn't mine. I mean, I knew it because it was women. I mean, it was beautiful. I loved it. I left it in the garbage man.
Good.
But I mean,
that's the way to do it.
I mean, I did the right thing. Right?
You did the right thing, correct.
So it was hard, because it was good stuff. I
But
would love to give it, but I couldn't. It was
you
a little
You don't want it. In the middle of Pesach, you don't want it.